You're listening to the You Don't Know Me Yet podcast network.
Hey guys, Holly Cotton here, and I am super excited about our guest today. I have Mario West, who is a former NBA player. He's going to tell us all about his career. Don't worry, because I don't want to misquote what teams he played for, because he has such an extensive career. And also, Mario is going to tell us about his foundation. He's going to tell us about his role as a director and all of these great things that he's doing to give back to the community. So welcome, Mario.
Thank you for having me, and happy Wednesday.
Thank you. Okay, so first thing, just to kind of give us some background, because some of the things that we're going to talk about, we need them to know, like, you know what you're talking about. This is not just some foolishness. You've been there, you've done that. So kind of give us some idea of the teams that you played, who has your loyalty, and any fun things that you did, high school, college, whatever you want to do, but definitely the pro stuff.
Oh, absolutely. Well, again, thank you. I'm really excited, about the conversation today. So thank you for this platform to talk about my journey. So I'm a product of Huntsville, Alabama. I was born in Huntsville, Alabama, so my roots are there. So Roll Tide when it comes to the football team. I'm a diehard, Alabama fan. I know a lot of people, hate on the champs, even though we didn't have the year that we wanted to. And I don't know if we're going to make the college football playoff. But anyway, I moved to Douglasville, Georgia. So I consider Douglasville, Georgia, like my hometown. I moved there when I was 9. And so 28 years I've been here. Went to Georgia Tech. So I'm a Yellow Jacket. I graduated and got my degree in business management. I played for the great Paul Hewitt at Georgia Tech. I was actually a walk-on originally at Georgia Tech, and I ended up earning a scholarship, but I was a freshman with Chris Bosh, shout out to that Hall of Famer, and Jared Jack, who's also, had a long NBA career and now a assistant coach with the Phoenix Suns. I also played with some other guys that played professionally and really, really helped shape my professional career on and off the court. BJ Elder, Ishmael Muhammad, Will Bynum, Luke Schenscher, Thad Young, and Javaris Crittenton. Shout out to Thad Young, who's still playing in the NBA. I think he's in his 16th season right now with the Toronto Raptors. So I played professionally. I was undrafted. I played with the Atlanta Hawks. I was a rookie with Al Horford and AC Law. Got to shout out those guys. Al Horford is still playing right now with the Boston Celtics. So I did 3 years with the Hawks, and then my last year in the NBA was 2011 with the New Jersey Nets, and then there was a lockout. But prior to there being a lockout in between the time that I spent with the Hawks and with the Nets, I spent some time in the G League for the Maine Red Claws. So there was a lockout in 2011, and then I went overseas. I played in Dominican Republic, Mexico, Argentina, Philippines, Italy, and France. I retired in 2015 after tearing my Achilles, but I had a wonderful career. I played nine years professionally. I also played in the Big Three about 4 years ago to kind of get that last little, basketball out of my system and compete at the highest level. But that was cool. I really enjoyed that.
Okay, wow. Okay, first of all, so for us normal people that would have like a resume, his resume would be like 13 pages long. So, like common folks, all the job experience is written. So that was really extensive. One, kudos to you. That's awesome. I love anyone that's living their dream, following their passion. So I'm glad that you got to do that and also do it on a professional, as well as use your passion to kind of help you with traveling, seeing the world, experiencing things that a lot of people have never even witnessed, much less played in, lived there, all of that stuff. So super, super cool about that. Okay, so what I wanted to kind of talk about next on what you're doing, because again, here we are talking about life after basketball. So I know Mario is the National Basketball Players Association director of Off the Court program. And this program he's going to tell us some more about it, but it's basically to help players with that transition. As he said, when he got injured, all of a sudden now he had a whole nother life that he had to start building and figuring out, okay, what's next? So Mario, tell us about being a director of that and what exactly that entails.
Yeah. So, as you mentioned, I'm a director of a program called Off the Court for the NBPA. Really grateful to first and foremost that I have this opportunity to serve in this capacity. After tearing my Achilles in 2015, it was one of those moments, when you go through life and things happen to you. I think a natural human instinct would be to, if you believe in a higher power, is to say like, why me? And for me, at that moment, I had already been through an injury and just life had happened prior to me tearing my Achilles. So I had already been through that phase of asking why. And what I've learned, early on is like, don't question God. Everything will work together, for good. And that's actually the scripture, Romans 8:28. And so for me, it was a moment where I was like, you know what? Okay, what do you want me to do now with my life? You know what I mean? And trying to figure that out. I wasn't prepared at that time. And I think that's what a lot of guys kind of struggle with. It's almost like if you were to ask someone, um, it's like a divorce. And I will say, and I say that because it's like you are married to the game, you play the game, and then one day, out of nowhere, it can be over. For some people, if you ask them, for their divorce, man, they celebrating. You know what I mean? I remember one of my favorites. I digress for a second. One of my favorite scenes from Brown Sugar is when he's at the table, and he said, "Celebrate my divorce." So some people they're celebrating, but then others, you know what I'm saying? Like it's a struggle, it's hard, it's so much that you put into that, you know what I'm saying, and time that you can't get back, and all the things that come with the separation. And so for me, I struggled. I had my own struggle trying to figure out the new identity, even financially, emotionally, because I had so many deals set up on the table for me to make so much more money, and then it's like I actually rehab and tried to go back and play after 9 months, but I just wasn't the same player. So that was tough for me to come to the realization, like, look, hey, you need to, really, really move on. And so you fast forward, I was fortunate enough that I was on coaching staff at Georgia Tech. I did that for 3 years as a director of player personnel, but it wasn't it was a means to an end at the time, you know what I mean? And so I did that for 3 years. It's like, look, I really want to tap into some of these other resources. Like I really want to grow. Originally I thought I wanted to be a coach, and so I was kind of going down that path, but it was just something in me, and I felt like I was receiving a lot of resistance when I was going down the coaching path. I was like, I know I'm qualified, you know what I mean? I played at Division 1. I played in the NBA, not to toot my own horn, but you know how you just know you're qualified for a position. And, God was telling me, hey, you know what, you're thinking too small. And it's a quick testimony. I think sometimes when you're on the brink of a breakthrough, you're going to receive the most resistance, possible. And so for me, that's personally what I experienced. And so this position became available. I went through the whole interview process and interviewed, and I got the job. One way that I was able to kind of advance along in the interview process, I have this network. I reached out to everyone that I knew to kind of help speak on my behalf, and that really kind of, sealed the deal for me. And so Off the Court is a transition program that serves and assists players following their professional career. We celebrate their career, but more importantly, we want to make sure that when guys retire, that they have a supportive environment at the NBPA that promotes stability, wellness, and growth. And we will help them focus or navigate through the common barriers that most players face heading into retirement. And we've grouped these barriers into 5 pillars. That's mental health and wellness, that is the brotherhood, that is career, physical wellness, and financial literacy. And so for me, like I said, all of those were interwoven. Like it was the identity piece, then it was the being disconnected from the guys in the locker room, which is the brotherhood. It was the financial literacy piece, because like, look, man, them
Hey, because
checks ain't
y'all ain't
coming
got
in.
them
So I
checks
need
coming
to,
in no more. So what y'all
right,
going
what you gonna do? You know what I mean? So you better have something else, or have saved. But even if you save, it's like you have all this idle time. So the struggle for a lot of guys is finding something that's going to challenge them in the same way that the game did, but also be just as fulfilling and rewarding. And so for me, I'm very passionate. I'm a server. I aim to please and serve. And so I get the best of both worlds. Not only am I serving, but I'm serving in a capacity of where I struggled the most, and then I'm still connected to the game itself. So yeah, that is what off the court is. And again, I'm proud of being the director.
Yeah.
Almost 3 years.
Right. And I was going to also say, too, that I think that that is something I'm glad that they identified that that was something very common that people were going through, because it's true. And I actually had a conversation with one of my friends who's kind of like mentoring me now in this new phase of things that I'm doing. And I'm always going back and forth of, okay, I've been a nurse for so long. I'm a college professor. I've done this. And I like, it's scary going to the next thing. And even he was like, okay, but you already been a nurse, like you already done that, so what's next? So it's kind of like the same thing you were saying, like, okay, that that's not defining who I am. I'm not just a basketball player that, I now I've done that. It was great. I had a great experience, and of course you still long for it, but now that's crossed off. So what's next? So I love that for you. I love that. And so, what is one of the most common things? I know you said with the pillars and the different things, everyone kind of inadvertently hits all of those pillars because even if you don't know it yet, it's coming for you. But what is something that you feel like you pretty much talk to every single person, or the interaction with that transition? What is like the most common thing that a lot of people struggle with going from professional, even with all of the pillars, they still are like, Mario, this ain't it. I can't.
Yeah. So one thing that I do, and I'm proud of, like I said, the good, the bad, the indifferent, the ugly. I always use myself. You know what I'm saying? And anytime I'm having a conversation, I don't mind taking it there. I get with a guy on any level because I start at the bottom. I never made the top amount. Yes, I made more than the average American and made a lot of money. But it's something that I like to call Batman versus Bruce Wayne. Batman, 7 o'clock, he go and saves the world, and that's how we were viewed. Whether you were a starter or whether you were the last person on the bench, 14, 15 guy like myself who didn't play a lot in the NBA, but when I did play, I had a huge impact and I had a huge assignment. And so the perception is that you're Batman, you're a superhero. You know what I mean? Like you put on that uniform and you're viewed as such. And then when you stop playing, you're viewed as Bruce Wayne, right? Bruce Wayne was rich. You know what I'm saying? Everyone felt like, okay, Bruce Wayne had all the resources. Like he could just live the life and do whatever it is that he wanted. And so when you would step away from the game, and you take off that what I like to call the mask, you know what I'm saying? It was the realization for me. It was like, well, shoot, I'm not Bruce Wayne. Like I don't have all this money where I can just sit back and I could just vacation every other day and that I don't have to work for the rest of my life. But some people like, yo, like what could you possibly care or what would you possibly have to worry about? You know what I mean? Like, man, I remember when you played for the Hawks. I remember when you played for the Nets. The thing is when you're transitioning, I personally hated to step out into the community and people reminded me of when I was like that Batman, reminded me of when you know what I mean? And I didn't have anything going on. So I would say to answer your question, well, first of all, the transition for everyone is going to struggle, but it's not always going to be the same. Some guys, they just may miss being away, you know what I'm saying, from the guys that are competing at a high level. Some guys, yes, the identity, some guys, the financial. So for me, I try to get them to focus on finding their purpose and what they're most passionate about. Once you find that, then from there you can build everything, else out. You know what I mean? So because that'll help you find the new identity. That'll help with, if you find something that you're passionate and that's your purpose, money doesn't even, come into factor. You know what I'm saying? Because you're getting fulfilled. You know what I mean? And then you want to wake up every day that you're fulfilling that purpose and passion. So I tell them or try to suggest, hey, find that. And once you find that, everything else will fall into place.
Okay, good advice. And two, let me tell you something. Bruce Wayne has some swagger. Okay, so I'm gonna need you to calm down whenever you comparing yourself. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, no, you're
No,
right. No,
but I get
you're
it.
right.
I totally understand, and that's a very good analogy because you're right. It's almost like that Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, or Bruce Wayne versus Batman because he got some swag, y'all. But so he can't be Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. He got to go for the swagger. But yeah, so totally good analogy, and that makes perfect sense. Now you explained it to us. We get it. And so that kind of goes into, I guess, the next thing I wanted to ask about, because you found your purpose through the Mario West Foundation, and you identified like, okay, I need to be doing something else. So can you tell us about how you came up with your foundation and what your foundation entails?
Absolutely. So my foundation, the Mario West Foundation, I started back in 2016. So back in college at Georgia Tech, we would spend time at the Children's Hospital, and we would spend time there, like around the holidays. And I remember this one particular time that we were over there as a team. You know how you have a moment where you're just so moved, and it's like God is telling you to move in such a way. And so here I am, 19-year-old kid, and I was like, you know what, wow, I want to do more of this. I don't want to just do this, once a year. I want to, kind of create my own, events or whatever it is, and spend time, here at the children. I've always been a firm believer, to whom much is given, much is required. I've been blessed. The sole reason that I made it, to the NBA, to overcome the odds and things that I was able to overcome to make it there, is because of God. And not that I dotted every I and I crossed every T and I did everything right, but God's blessings upon me to help me, get to where I wanted to get to. And so I felt like I can never repay God, but what I can do is to show him how appreciative I am for all the resources and gifts that he's bestowed upon me by, reaching out to others. And basketball is such a universal thing that it has allowed me to connect with so many different people, and it's opened up so many doors. And so for me, starting the foundation, it was like, you know what, this is my way of giving back. And this is my way of giving back to the community of people that look just like me, people that I come across, the people that just need help. Everyone needs help. Anyone that has ever climbed the ladder of success didn't do it alone. You know what I'm saying? Like, you needed someone to hold that ladder. You know what I'm saying? And you had to put that ladder on some sturdy, like, ground foundation so that you can climb the ladder. And so for me, like I said, very, very proud of the foundation. So I started off giving scholarships to my high school. And this was very, very important to me because I didn't receive a scholarship to go to Georgia Tech. I had an academic scholarship. And I remember, this conversation vividly with my dad in the kitchen at 17. He was like, look, man, I know we ain't got the money, man, for you to, to go to Georgia Tech, man. But if that's where you want to go, we're going to figure it out. And I remember my parents, taking out loans and everything like that. It put a strain on them financially. And so, fast forward now that I had, got into the NBA, and I really wish I would have did it back then. But, you're young and you just so focused on the game itself that you don't think about these other things. And so I said, you know what? I want to go ahead and start my foundation, and I want to provide financial assistance because I don't want people to feel forced to have to, oh, I got to dribble a ball, or I got to, play football, or I got to do something for me to go to school. Because if they didn't receive a scholarship, I didn't want that to deter them from furthering their education and following their dream. So I said, whatever kind of assistance I can provide, I want to start that. In addition to that, I also provide benevolent assistance to the homeless. I'm sure, in Texas and just all over, there's so many people that are homeless that without, the basic necessities. I was homeless for a brief, second when I was living with my mom and we got evicted. And I remember our stuff thrown, out. And so for me, that really, really touches me because it's like, if I can help and if I'm able and willing, I should do it. And so this past Thanksgiving, I did hot meals. I know a lot of people are, doing canned goods and turkeys and stuff like that. But for the homeless, canned goods defeats the purpose. So I physically pass out hot meals. I got to shout out Publix because they give me a great deal on the meals. I partner with them on getting the hot meals. Next month for Christmas, I got stockings. And the stockings, I'm going to put, like I call stocking stuffers. I'm going to put hat gloves, toothbrush, mouthwash, basic like necessities. And then I'll partner with Little Caesars and give out pizza. So right now, those are the things that I do. So I do something for Thanksgiving, for Christmas. I do my scholarships in May. And then around February, I'll do like coats, gently used coats and blankets. And then also, I forgot to mention back to school. I also do a back to school program as well. And so these things, again, very, very important. And really, it was based off of my book. Hopefully, I'm not getting too ahead, but all of that's intertwined. My book uh, was my journey of how I overcame to pursue my dream. And so with the book, that's how you actually get nominated to receive the scholarship. You have to read my book and answer the questions on what it means to defend the dream. And so, yeah, anybody that wants to support the Mario West, Foundation, go to MarioWestFoundationInc.com, and we have a link where you can donate and receive your tax deductible receipt. Yesterday was Giving Tuesday, so hey, it's Hump Day. You can still give on Wednesday. We'll take it.
Right, we take money every day of the week. I love it. I love it. Okay, and I wanted to ask you this because I try to get feedback from anyone. So people that are doing great things, I always try and allow them to elaborate on it, because what I explain to people is that sometimes people want to help, but they don't know where to start. They don't know how to start a foundation. They don't know how to start giving homeless people stuff. So can you give us an idea? Because I know you said that it's in your heart. It was a way of you giving back. But for anyone that's like saying, well, I'm retired or I want to do something big, how did you actually develop a foundation to where it's like your name and it's official? What are the steps to creating an actual foundation?
Yeah, great question. The steps to create your own foundation. First, I would also suggest that before you do, find out why are you doing that. Like, what type of impact do you want to have in your imprint? You know what I mean? That you want to have in the community. You know what I'm saying? Something that's near and dear to your heart. Maybe it's someone that in your family that has dealt with cancer, some type of disease or ailment or something, that personally fits you. I would recommend, just spending some time thinking about that. Like I said, for my foundation, as I mentioned, not having a scholarship and being homeless. And so that's what my mission is. And that's what my foundation does. And then the steps, I actually reached out to, I think it's called the Foundation Group. They're located out of Tennessee, and they did a fantastic job in helping me set up everything, because there's so much paperwork in terms of the filing and everything like that. When you're setting up your nonprofit foundation, and then set up in a business account and stuff like that with the bank, but they can help walk you through all of that, and also staying on track, because you also got to have a treasurer and secretary, board of directors and stuff like that as well. And so I recommend just Google. Now, I mean, that's the luxury of, the internet and everything like that. You can just Google everything. It's something that you can do on your own. Depending on like what level. I think it was maybe either 65. It was no more than like $7,000. I'm not saying like that's, light or anything like that, but I think in total to set everything up, it was like 6,500 or something like that to set everything up. But yeah, no, very, very proud. And then once you have that set up, again, you can Google, because there's a lot of government contracts and things like that, resources out there that you can get, because I know it's very uncomfortable to ask, whether it's family or friends, for money to donate. Like a lot of the stuff I put in my own money, to support. Now, I have gotten some great people that have been huge donors and blessings in terms of what they donate to the foundation, and I'm grateful for them. But oftentimes, like I said, it's not the easiest thing, to ask people, for assistance. But yeah, just start there. You can find everything on the internet.
Okay, good. Thank you for that. Yeah, like I said, I always try and when I hear people doing things or doing great things, because sometimes it initiates or it ignites something in you where you're like, oh, you know what? I like that. Oh, I want to do that. What do I got to do? How do I be a part of it? So thank you for sharing that. And so before we get into your book, I wanted to ask one more question, because this is something I'm just being nosy. This is my own personal question, but I wanted to know about professional athletes, and anytime I talk to someone that's in the sports arena and is doing it professionally or has done it professionally, I always want to know about how you balance a personal life and the sport, because I know that it takes a lot of dedication and a lot of focus, and sometimes relationships, they stress you out a little bit. They don't understand. I got to hustle. I got I got all of this stuff. So what did you find like when you were actually playing pro ball? And you don't have to tell us about who you were dating or whatever, but or whatever your business was, keep it quiet. But I'm just saying, what did you figure out when you were doing that and you were dedicated to basketball, of how to balance a personal life with your passion for playing ball?
So what version do you want?
The real one.
Oh, well, hey, say less. I would say, early on, for me, and I think most athletes, will attest to this. We have this special gift of tunnel vision. You know what I mean? When we step in between those lines and we are, playing a game and, we're practicing stuff like that, that we can block out, everything. You know what I mean? Because that's what we do. That's our livelihood. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the check. Like, you're constantly, trying to win games, but you're constantly like, if you're on a contract, right? Your contract is coming up in a few years, or there's certain stipulations, bonuses and stuff like that, and certain things that you meet individually or as a team. So you always have to perform at your peak performance. Now, some guys, they get their bread, early, and it's like, okay, look, man, I got my bread and I can just kind of, relax and be comfortable. So, you know, maybe they, do a lot more, what I'm saying, in terms of off the court. But for me, I was never one of those guys where my contract was guaranteed. So I just had this tunnel vision. So everything else, was secondary. So, I did enjoy, it would fly you out and cater, you know what I'm saying, and date, because I was, single at the time, and I would, do things that would every ball player, right? You have access to a lot of different things, you know what I'm saying? And whether that's, entourage, whether that was, events and, whatever, it's all in moderation. You know what I'm saying? And I think when you're young, you're getting pulled in so many different directions. You know what I'm saying? When you're early on in the league, it's like, look, I want to be the best player. Oh man, I'm gonna kill it. But then at the same time, you having this access, and it's almost like, you know what, man? I know I ain't supposed to eat that apple, but I'm going, man, I'm gonna have a little bite or something like that. When you at the little grocery store, you know what I'm saying, and you pull one of them little grapes or something like that, and it's just tempting. Temptation is always gonna be there. But then as you get older, you know what I'm saying? And I think this is what's very, very important about the OGs and the vets, because they can kind of like, look, young fella, look, I heard you out there moving such and such, but look, this is how you move. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is how you do things. Just stay, low key on the radar. If you're gonna do those things, make sure you handle your business first and foremost, because that other stuff, it ain't going nowhere. And really, that's the truth of the matter. It's not going nowhere. You know what I mean? Put that extra time, focus those 2-3 hours that you have, at practice, on the court, and game time, and lock in. Because I have been in a situation where, experienced a breakup or something like that, and you thinking about that during the game. You know what I mean? And it distracts you, and you don't go out and perform well. You know what I mean? And I know every person has had, whether it was with a girl or just some personal in their life, you know what I'm saying, a family situation, you know what I'm saying, that affected them going into the game. You don't need that. You know what I mean? So I think the best way to balance it is just to, realize too that the game is short, right? Like the average man, maybe like 4.5 years or something like that. It goes by so fast. So you better make sure that you're trying to get the max, you know what I'm saying, out of the game. And, unless you married and got kids and stuff like that, man, otherwise, man, I would say be single, enjoy that life, save your bread, and just moderation. You know what I'm saying?
Right, right. So basically, what he's saying is that during that time where you are professionally doing something, it's okay to be a pimp, because you want to stay. You want to be able to focus on the game, and you ain't got time to be worried about responsibilities. We got it, Mario. We
Right.
read between the lines. All right. So, Defend the Dream is your book, and tell us about that. There it is. He's holding it up for us, you guys. Defend the Dream. And it has a workbook too, right?
Yep, it includes workbook questions inside the book, which I think is great because you get to answer, in real time.
Okay, so tell us how you decided to write a book, because I'm an author too. And I think that we all start off by writing pretty much like an autobiography. Is that kind of like what it is? And then how, but it's yours is like, I think because yours is kind of parallel to my day one, like defining your dreams, how to organize it. So tell us about
Well,
your book.
yeah. So my book. So I co-authored this book with Shekinah Bolden. Got a shout out, Shekinah. We actually went to high school together. And so the moment where when I tore my Achilles, right, I'm sitting up in the bed and my leg is propped up, and at that moment, I asked God, "What is it that you want me to do now?" And He said, "It's time." I had been putting off that book for years. Like I said, a lot of stuff I wish I would have did, while I was still playing. I could have capitalized out of that moment, relevance and being in the league at that time and had more support. And the book could did a lot more in terms of revenue and sales. But it's still done wonders, because if one person read my book and said that, hey, it inspired them or changed their perspective on them, that's a success, regardless of how much, what I'm saying, it does, how much in terms of sales. But at that moment, I think sometimes we put off, right? We say, hey, when such and such lines up, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, or, when this happens, I'll do this and this and that. That's basically what I have been doing, in terms of putting the book off. And so when it happened, like, God will humble you. He'll sit you down. You know what I mean? And so He set me down. It's like, look, man, it's time for you to do what, what I'm saying, what you've been putting off. And so I started out and I tried to do the whole autobiography, and it was like, and then I was like, you know what? Let me reach out to someone that's in this space. And at the time, Shekinah was, I think, working for like Essence Magazine in New York or something like that. Like, I knew she had some contacts, and we stayed in touch. And so basically my book, and I caution anyone to read the book, it's not a book about basketball. You know what I mean? Basketball just happened to be my dream. It's a book about life and having a dream and the different obstacles that you have to overcome, because it's not just a straight path. So the cool thing about my book is that it's outlined like a game. So if you can imagine watching, whether it was the World Series or, any type of championship, you know what I mean? Super Bowl, game 7, right? You don't know how that game is going to end, right? Because there's quarters in the game, there has to be adjustments in the game, and the game is going back and forth. So when you read this book, it's outlined like that. Like, it has quarters, you know what I'm saying? It has timeouts, it has tips, it has, just like I said, like a game. And then you'll see, oh man, the game went into overtime. You know what I mean? Like, you're literally glued to the TV. And so that's what the book, it draws you in. So it talks about, my childhood at the age of 7, having this dream, my mom being incarcerated, because she was addicted to drugs, my dad being in the Army, my grandmother being a huge figure, Alberta West, rest in peace. I wish I could just hear her laugh, and how she stepped in and really molded me and helped me, stay focused on this dream. And as you mentioned earlier, has workbook questions and stuff like that for the reader to ask themselves in real time. And so basically what we did for the first few months, we built out a timeline, right? And so we built out the timeline and put down, this what happened, and such and such. And once we built out that timeline, we also interviewed over the phone, and she did a lot of recording of me just talking, what I'm saying, about the experiences. So then she kind of went back and then filled in that timeline. And then once she pretty much had the rough draft of the foundation, then it was like, okay, hey, do you have some quotes or have some things that you kind of like fillers, what I'm saying, to kind of put in to make sure that the book is flowing the right way. And so it took like 2 years. But one thing I could say, it was very therapeutic, because I had to relive some of those most painful, moments, that happened early on in my life that, were a blessing in disguise, but also painful. Some things that made me laugh, some things that, that made me cry, and that's what you got. It's with the book, Defend the Dream.
I love that you mentioned that also, because I always say that it's those things that you kind of don't even know that are building your character. And that's why people are always talking about, oh man, these weak ass kids they got now, they're so soft, because honestly, we're all in better places because we had these terrible these terrible childhoods that now we never want our kids to hurt, so we're giving them these great lives and stuff like that. So I'm glad that you were able to have an outlet to tell your story. So that's really, really cool. Okay, so to wrap up everything, because you guys, Mario is always moving around. You think I'm always somewhere. He's every 4 times a week. He's somewhere. At least I only go like once a week. So what are some of the? I know you mentioned you have the Christmas project, but what are some of the things that you're working on right now? Things that people can support, and then drop all your social media and website information, and make sure you spell out everything, because they also, it's audio on the podcast as well.
Oh yeah, no problem. So right now at the moment, the thing that I'm most like engaged in right now is the stockings that I'm doing for the homeless. So I ordered some of the stockings for Amazon, but oftentimes what I do, I'll go to like a Dollar Tree or Dollar General. They'll have dollar stockings, and so I'll get like 100 of those. I try to do between 100 and 200 stockings. I've already ordered like in bulk the hats and gloves and stuff like that. And then as you mentioned, even though you saying it jokingly that I'm on the road, but I'm on the road so much that when I'm in the hotels, I take all of the soaps and stuff like that, like in the bottles and stuff like that, and I collect that. And
That's
throughout
what
the
I do
years,
too. And when I have a homeless event, I give all that out. I have a big bag about this big right now.
oh, I got like 7 bags like that, just
Right,
full of
right.
stuff.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
that's what I'll use
Hmm.
to put in there as well. In addition, I'll have some people donate, or I'll
Right.
I'll buy some stuff as well. And so that is the immediate thing that I have, at the moment that I'm doing right now. It's just focusing on Christmas and being a blessing. 2 days before Christmas, like on the 23rd, I think it's my target date where I'll get out in the streets of Metro Atlanta and pass out, those things. And then after that, we'll look to do the hats and the coats rather and blankets. Like I said, because that's February, January is kind of like the colder months. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like, you know what, Atlanta is. They say
I
it's
said,
hot
don't
Atlanta,
get
but it's
cold
winter.
till December, January.
Yeah. So like right now the sun is out and I'm out. I mean, I was out earlier this morning in shorts. The weather is, crazy here. So that's what I have right now going on. I also I partnered with my middle school. I love going back to my old stomping grounds, like I said, just for the youth to see someone that looks just like them and know that, hey, I come from where you come from. You know what I mean? So it's no different in, your dreams and aspirations. Like if you stay the course, you know what I'm saying, you can achieve all that you want to achieve. So I'm partnered with them and with the Atlanta Hawks and going to take them to a game. A lot of them have never, seen a game, NBA game. And so it's a mentorship program, but there's incentives. Like you have to do good in school. You can't get into trouble and things like that. Cause, teenagers, you know what I'm saying? They're, getting into, trouble and, sometimes having a hard time, maybe home life is not the best thing, for them. Try to provide an outlet for them. So those are the things that I have, but you can follow me on my social media on IG. My personal IG is Mario West 6, MARIOWEST, the number 6. And then for my foundation, it's the Mario West Foundation Inc., MARIOWEST Mario West Foundation. Oh, well, actually, that's the website. Sorry. That's the website. But for the IG, I think it is, I think that is
No, that's your
the
IG,
Mario West
Mario
Foundation.
F6.
For my
Oh, for your
nonprofit,
foundation.
for my foundation, I think it's just Mario West Foundation Inc. But for the website is MarioWestFoundationInc.com. And then if you're trying to purchase a copy of the book, check out MarioWest.com. That's MARIOWEST.com. So yeah, that's pretty much all my social media platform. Like I said, if you just go to Mario West 6, I always post, you know what I'm saying? So you'll be able to be connected, with the others. And I'm very, very again appreciative of this time. Hopefully I help someone listening in and, I hope someone is encouraged to defend the dream, so you got to make it
Of
happen.
course, they better be. They better be. So FYI, y'all, when y'all see me on Instagram at the Hawks game, you know where I got my Lanyap tickets from. Stay in your lane. Stay in your lane.
Absolutely, and when you see her out, dripped in some Defender, when you look at her, you say, "Oh, I like that comfort." Like, what is that? Is that Defender Dream? What can I get? Hey, you know where that came from?
Don't worry, I'll tag it. Now, what is your biggest goal for 2023?
My biggest goal for 2023. I'm looking to expand on my scholarships. So I've done 4, but I'm actually looking to do 5. I want to do 5 scholarships at the end of the school year. I'm looking to do 5. I'm also looking to renovate the basketball court at my middle school. That's something that they said that there's a need. Anytime there's a need, someone that helps, I'm automatically like drawn to it, and I want to kind of figure out how I can insert myself or the resources that I have at my disposal. So those are the 2 that come off jump off right now. I want to do
Okay,
those 2 things.
got it. Love that, love that, love that, love the giving back, love the huge heart. So, Mario, at the end of all my shows, I end with something called a life check. And basically, what we do is just give a synopsis of what today's episode is and why it's important and what we're trying to help other people do, what to take away from this, all that great stuff. So, today's life check, I just wanted to end with, it doesn't matter what happens in life. Sometimes you get shown your passion, your purpose through your passion. And sometimes you could be walking on a path and think that it's the yellow brick road and you're never going to come off of it. And then all of a sudden something happens where it's a tragedy or an injury or something else that realign your circumstances. And now you have to figure out what to do. So Mario gave us some great advice about that. Whenever you have to basically just get off of the path that you've known your entire life, and how this is the time to say, why me? Why is this happening to me? What do I need to be doing? Find out what you're going to be doing. And always remember that what you're doing right now is something that you can let go of and start something else. You don't have to have the one thing that you're doing right now that you love be the only thing that defines you. So don't be afraid to start over. Don't be afraid to challenge yourself and keep pushing, all of that great stuff. And you guys, I will have all of Mario's information tagged in the podcast notes. So be sure to support everything that he's doing, follow all of that great stuff. So thanks, Mario.